Andrew McCart, IFLTV, delighted to be joined by Jamie Moore. Jamie, I want to clarify something. I didn't try and push in front of Georgia there, all right? I asked everybody there and I said...
Didn't he?
Did I try and push in?
He actually said, excuse me, whoa.
I'm IFL.
I'm Cougars, mate.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm very, very well. I'm in Belfast. I mean, arguably, people will say this is probably the fight capital of the UK.
Mate,
Best
I
fans in
love
the
it.
world here.
Absolutely.
You've got your charge, Pat Brown, and I'm a massive fan of Pat Brown. I
Yeah.
said to you yesterday that the reason why I'm a fan is you'll put bums on seats.
Yeah.
He's an exciting fighter. And I said to you, you probably want to hear it, but he's got confidence in his chin that he doesn't mind taking one as long as he gets in and he can land his 3-4 body shots in the works.
Of course, he's a very smart fighter, and that's not something what people would have watched his first 3 fights and thought he's a smart fighter. But the reason why he does things like that is he likes to test the water. He's defensively much cuter than he has shown, and he uses it as and when he needs to. So he's first and foremost, though, he just wants to hurt people, which is the reason why he will be exciting. He'll put bums on seats. But, you know, our job is to help him control that, you know, sort of tunnel it so that he uses it at the right times, because it's all well and good doing it at this level now. You're just going out there being gung-ho, but if we're not advising him to not do it, but to make sure that when you do it in the right way, so that it's controlled and you sort of pick and choose. Some of these kids you won't just blast out of there. I mean, the guy in his debut was much tougher than I anticipated, or we would have really wanted for his debut. But nevertheless, he got through it with flying colours, and I've got a feeling this kid tomorrow will be cut from the similar cloth. You know, he's short, strong kid, game, can punch. I feel like he'll give Pat rounds. That's why we sort of picked him. So I don't think he's going to have it all his own way. Feel like if he does the right type of job on him, like we know he can do, then he could get him out of there maybe sort of round 5, round 6. But to be honest, Andy, if he gets him out of there before, he won't be surprised, and then it's a good problem to have. But we're in a position where we're going, who do we match him with now?
That's a headache for you.
It's a good headache,
yeah.
Because it means that your fighter is really the kid who you want one of your fighters to be. But, you know, me, Sam Jones, Tom Dallas were on the phone just bouncing ideas about all the time about who we can match him with. So he's contracted 10 rounds next fight because he's 26 years old, so we don't want to hang around with him. So we need to try and get him people like this kid who are going to hopefully give him rounds. But if they don't, then all that really says is the guy we think he is.
Well, obviously his amateur pedigree as well stands him in good stead. He's probably sparred, fought at that elite level, albeit at 3 rounds, but he's probably seen every style that you can imagine in the amateurs as well. So for you though as a coach, you can't really say to Pat Brown, take the round off, because he's not that type of fighter. You can't say, listen, let's feel him out for this round, because again, Pat, like I said to you, he's a fan-friendly style fighter. Yeah. He puts bums on seats. I can see it, and the way he fights, I think that he enjoys it.
Yeah,
is that safe to say?
And that's what makes him a good fighter. Yeah. So not by any stretch of the imagination am I going to take that away from him, but I need to build around it so that when he gets into fights with higher level opposition and they give him problems, he's equipped to deal with the problems rather than his only line of defence being his aggression. So there's other things what you need to add to him, but in all honesty, and talking through him in our tech sessions and asking him to do stuff in sparring scenarios against good kids, he can do it. He's already got those tools under his belt. He just hasn't had to show them yet. So, and I feel like maybe Saturday, this kid might bring some of the best out of him. But also, I am worried that he won't get the rounds because he punches that hard that he could get anyone out of there early doors.
I want to touch on something that both Sam and Eddie have said about Pat Brown, that he will move up to heavyweight. He will make that transition, but not until he cleans out this cruiserweight division. Now, the cruiserweight division, I'm looking at Jaya Pattaya might move on. You've got good names. Cruiserweight division's always been that division. I wouldn't say it's a forgotten division, but it was never as big as the heavyweight prestige and the likes. But it has been these last few years, especially here in the UK. We've had some fantastic fights in that cruiserweight division. And when you see Pat, you mentioned he's 26 years old. He is quite big for the weight, I'd imagine. How long do you see him staying down there at cruiserweight?
We've got a plan. Like, I would say 18 months to... So I'd guess by the time you're talking early 27, we would be looking at hopefully him being in a position to fight for a world title. That's the belief we've got in him. That would include along the way, I'd say this time next year, I would expect him to be British champion. And then by 6 months later, in a position or actually boxing for the world title at cruiserweight. Because in all honesty, if it goes any longer than that, I feel like he'll be in a position where they have to move up, because he really is he does it well because he's disciplined and he's the consummate professional. But we don't want to go to the point where he's absolutely dead at the weight. And you've got the scenario where we had with David A, for instance, where he was like really killing himself to get down there, because that strength, that explosiveness is what makes him good. So before we get to the point where it takes away from him, we'd make sure we moved up.
Well, obviously, he is sparring Dave Allen. I've heard stories and stuff like that, and Dave's told me, and he's saying that he is very, very cute as well sometimes, Dave Allen was telling me last week. So he can compete in that heavyweight division.
Absolutely. So Dave has sparred some of the best heavyweights in the world, been in there with some of the best heavyweights in the world, and he actually said to me afterwards, Pat Brown's the hardest puncher I've been in with.
Wow.
Now, that's a compliment. That's a big compliment. So it was amazing to watch the spar, by the way. Not just because they both showed very disciplined compared to the first time they sparred.
Dave?
Both of them, honestly. And the form Dave's in and the way he sparred meant that Pat's performance in the spar was even better as well, because Dave's really, really on form. He put it all over Pat. That's why I'm hoping this fight gets the chance for people to show a little bit of a different side of Pat, because he has got it in his locker. Dave made sure he brought it out that day, and it was great to see, because Dave looked brilliant, and then Pat threw a few tricks in there. What are Dave Allen's tricks? And he Dave Allen. So it was ace to watch, and in all honesty, I'd said to him beforehand, behave yourself, because if this doesn't go the way I want it to go, you'll never spar again. And it was absolutely brilliant. Pair of them, superb. And I'm glad now, because we've got two big guys in the gym at the same time who are going to now be able to help each other and learn off each other in different ways moving forward, because it'd be a crying shame if we couldn't do that because of egos. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's talk about Dave Allen then, because I was with him last week. He was in Sunderland to support Leo Watang and the boys, and just seeing Dave and being around him, I mean, he is more disciplined than I've ever seen. I've known him for 9 years now. Even going to Sainsbury's, he was just buying rice cakes. And then that 5K, I know, rice cakes, there was no more, and I can attest to this, Jamie, he never bought any sweets or anything like that. It was rice cakes. I
never thought I'd Dave Allen and rice cakes in the same sentence.
Well, that's exactly what happened. And then obviously the 5K, for a 19-stone man to carry himself in under 25 minutes, fantastic. He's got the bit between his teeth, it seems. And have you seen that in the gym, though? Have you seen that sort of a different side of Dave Allen? Because you've been with him a long time, you've known him a long time, and his own admission, he says that he hasn't taken the sport seriously. But how has this camp been?
The night and day. Yeah. And not just this camp, but the rematch with Johnny. So we had a full camp for the first fight, 8, 9 weeks maybe, so you can call it a full camp, but the starting point was not very good. And he still performed the way he did, and everyone thought he won the fight. Didn't get it, led into the second fight, but he stayed in the gym. Most important thing was he stayed in the gym. So we had a week or whatever, 10 days off over Christmas, and then he was back in the gym January, all the way until the fight. And then the performance shown him what happens when you stay in the gym and stay consistent, and he's done the same again. Never been away, just chipped away consistently, built his conditioning, his sharpness has improved, his hand speed, his timing. everything about him has improved because he stayed consistent. And I don't believe this is Dave going, I know this is my last chance, so I'm going to do this for me. I believe this is Dave going, my purpose is greater now because I've got a family. And I always knew I was a good fighter, but I wasn't really asked because it was for me. Now he's doing it for them. And I've been there, I know what it's like. When your purpose is greater, you dig harder, you fight harder, you train harder, and it's so evident in him. And Dave Allen walking around drinking bottles of water instead of Coke.
Ice cakes.
And not dipping bread in ice cream is like a thing to behold. So I'm proud. I said it before. I'm proud of him. I feel like a proud dad, even though I'm not old enough to be his dad. But we've got that type of relationship with friends. But he looks up to me as a coach, which I respect the fact that he respects me, and the journey what we've been on so far. So this is like 5.5 years down the line, and trust has to be built over time. And I know he didn't trust me at the start, and why would he? Because trust is built. But as time went on, you could see he sort of believed in it, and he trusted what I was saying to him. And by the time we got to the Fraser Clark fight, really, I believe was the turning point, because I could have easily left him in that fight and let him just soldier it out and try and go the distance. But I knew he wasn't going to win, and I knew he'd been in hard in fights in the past, and I thought, if this goes the way I think it's going to go, this could ruin him for the rest of his life, and I wasn't willing to do that, so I pulled him out. And now, in hindsight, that's probably helped him, saved him, to be able to have this Indian summer, because 4 rounds, when you're not fit, against someone like Fraser Clark, can be career-ending. So I'm glad I did it. I had an instinct. I thought he needs to live to fight another day. Pulled him out. Glad I did, because look what's happened for him now, for his family.
Definitely, but he's got a MAKHMUDOV fight, which I believe, and I've said this to Dave, that I think he can do it. I really do think that he can beat MAKHMUDOV.
I know he can.
Well, you know he can.
I know
definitely,
he can.
as his coach, you've seen it. But how much of this, again, going on what Eddie Hearn said, how much of this carrot at the end of this MAKHMUDOV fight is Dave paying attention to? The Anthony Joshua fight. Eddie Hearn said that if you beat MAKHMUDOV, the Anthony Joshuas, the Joseph Parkers and the likes are going to be there for you. Is that an incentive for Dave, or is he 100% focused on MAKHMUDOV?
When you think that David got to the point where he thought he was never even going to get anywhere near a British title fight again, to be in a position where he's going, God, I do this properly and do a job on MAKHMUDOV, then I'm in a position to fight a Parker, a Wilder, a big fight. Never in a million years did he envision he would be in that position. So that's why he's putting this work in now. He's got his ensuite. He wants more. I think he wants credibility.
Walking wardrobe.
Listen, let's be honest. Dave is loved because he's your normal, everyday character. People can relate to him. He's a normal person doing an extraordinary thing in the hardest sport in the world. So people admire him for it, but it hasn't been for his performances. And Dave, I believe, we haven't had this conversation, but I'm just guessing, he now knows he's in a position where he can go, I'm going to get the credit I deserve, because people spoke about him for years. I remember working for Sky in 2012, 13, and people were going, this kid can be good. And for whatever reason, he went down a different track, but he's still young enough, fresh enough, good enough to fulfill those ambitions. If he fights for the world title, not even wins it, if he fights for it, they should make a film on him.
Yeah, definitely. You spoke about Dave being your friend and looking up to be a father figure. Now, obviously, I want to touch on Jack Catterall. He's basically put out a statement saying that making a new career choice, and he thanked you and Nige, and basically saying you're my best friends. It was a tough decision. I just want to get your thoughts and your reaction to all that.
Hey, listen, fighters leave gyms and go to different gyms, and it's just part of life. What can you do? And it wasn't a nice conversation, but I actually said to him, I know this can't have been hard for you, so I'm not saying it was easy, but I respect your decision. I don't agree with it, but I genuinely wish you all the best. You know, we've had some great times. He's a beautiful kid, he's a really nice kid, and I wish him nothing but the best. That, like, there's literally nothing more I can say.
No, I'll leave it at that then. Jamie, now, obviously, we've got a huge fight out in Las Vegas, and as a boxing man, I'm sure you've thought about that. Now, a lot of people, I spoke to McCart, he's picking Crawford. I spoke to Ben Davison, he's picking Canelo. It seems like we've got a proper, genuine 50-50 fight here, where if you pick Canelo and I pick Crawford, it's almost like, who cares? Because it's not as if
no one's right.
No one's going to be right.
Exactly. It's one of them fights, and in all honesty, if it was 2 years ago, I would have no doubt I'd be going Canelo. But I just feel like, I don't say he's on the slide, but maybe he's not quite as good. So you reach Mount Everest, and he's still what you would call the top of Mount Everest, but he's on the other side and he's coming down a little bit. So he's not on the slide, but he's on his way down to that point. And Crawford, I would say, he's in his prime. But then you've got the weight, and that is a massive issue for me, especially when you jump in two weights against somebody who's been around this weight for a long time, who's so physically good, who's so physically strong, and his ring craft is amazing. So for every problem that Crawford's going to give him, he will have already dealt with it or had that in front of him. Southpaws have always been a little bit of an Achilles heel for Canelo, so I've got a feeling he might box the fight, the vast majority is southpaw, because the only other, you know, when you've got someone like Canelo who's had such a long established career, you've generally got a blueprint of this is the way you should go about it. And the only two things I can see, you know, taking Mayweather aside because he's so good and he was so young, is that you're a southpaw and you're a mover, or you're big and it's just size. And Crawford hasn't got that.
You mentioned size there. Obviously, Crawford's going to be 38. He's been out. There's so many variables in this fight, and I'm going to chuck a couple at you. Crawford's 38. Been out the ring 13 months. Now, Jamie, you know as a fighter that if you either put on a stone of muscle or a stone of fat or a stone and a half of muscle or fat, doesn't matter, your reaction times aren't there, your hand speed slowers and your feet speed slower.
Coordination's all off.
Yeah, so do you feel like, even though when you watch Crawford, the Spence fight, the sharpness of welterweight, the Ricky Burns at lightweight, and then Dongo fight, and the likes, he was sharp, you couldn't see his punches coming.
Yeah.
But up at 168, people are saying he's going to come at 175 as well. He looks massive. Do you think that his hand speed and his foot speed is going to be there? His reaction time is still going to be there that way?
I mean, only time will tell, really. But for me, he's near enough impossible to come in at 2 weight divisions heavier and be as athletic, as fast if you've been inactive for 13 months. It's literally impossible. It can be in the gym, but that actual in-ring experience and the conditioning, the timing, all that type of stuff at 38, you know, you have got to be a freak of nature. You know, there's only very few fighters who've done anything like this type of stuff at that age, like someone like Bernard Hopkins. Greatness. Yeah, you're talking greatness. I tell you what, if Crawford pulls this off and beats Canelo, who's by nowhere near finished,
greatest of our era,
one of the greatest fighters ever. Like, really, I mean, and he'll need another couple of good wins, but has he got the time to do it, to go down as sort of, you would say, like top 5 or whatever? But when you think about it, it's quite a shame, actually, really, when you think about going back to Ricky Burns and him winning the title all them years ago. You know, actual standout names who he's been in there with, his regime could have been better, I believe. And he beats Canelo, though. He's right up there. And then people will probably forever speak about what could have been if it had been in a different era, around different fighters in that weight division to push him, because Errol Spence was probably not the fighter he was after the car accident as well. So yeah, but nonetheless, if he pulls this off, one of the best wins ever.
Well, can he pull it off, and does he pull it off? I mean, I'm going to put you on the spot now, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Who wins?
Canelo.
Right.
I believe Canelo wins. I would not be surprised if Crawford pulls it off, because fighters, great fighters, tend to be able to go an extra gear when they're involved in the biggest fight of their career. This will not be Canelo's biggest fight of his career. So will he be able to rise like Crawford will? So I won't be surprised if Crawford pulls it off. I just believe that size generally always wins in this type of matchup.
And just to quickly touch on what Turkey said as well. Turkey was sitting next to Canelo at the press conference and said, I want blood, I want broken bones, I want this, that and the next thing. And he patted Canelo on the shoulder, basically saying...
As if he's on him.
As if to say to Crawford, come on, let's have a fight, don't be on your bike.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing. But the only way, for me, Crawford wins is skill, evasiveness, sharpness, uses lack of natural size and power to Canelo's disadvantage. Difficult to do against someone who's got so much ring craft.
One final one for me. Our sponsor, Prize Guy, is giving away £100,000 this weekend, Jamie, to one lucky winner. Now, if
for what?
I don't think it's a competition or something. I think it is. And
free entry for me for this interview.
Yeah. Well, that's it. If I was to give you £100,000 for this interview, what would you do with it?
Oh, mate, listen. Anyone
I don't have £100,000. So don't ask.
Anyone who knows me probably knows. I'd probably just give it away to someone and just try and help them, because money's the root of all evil, man. People need it. We all need money. It's the root of all evil, and share alike.
Jamie, thank you so much, my man.
Cheers,
thank you,
man.
and I'll
Nice
see you
one,
the way
mate.
in. Thank you, mate. Thank you.